An organic shape can be a pretty daunting task at times. Today I'm going to show you how to use a template to make that organic shape repeatable and accurate. I had a client reach out to me and ask me if I could make a seating bench to match their existing mid-century modern style table. So I went over and took a look at it, and I took some paper with me and I traced out the leg, came back and I cut the template for the leg. So this is going to be our leg section. This is going to be the apron that's going to go around the bench. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to trace it out onto my piece of wood. And obviously this is just a piece of scrap to illustrate. It's not the table that we're going to make. But the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to attach this template to my material. A real easy way to do that I have found works very, very good is good old everyday Starbond. And what I like to do is take a piece of tape here. I'll show you how to do this. I'm going to cut this piece of tape off, set it over here on my template, get that on there. I'm going to use two just to keep it that much more stable. Put another one down here. Then I'm going to trace this out with just a pencil real quick to give me an idea where I need to set that when I put it back together. That's all I really need. And my tape's there and there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of tape, set it on here. And this is just the real soft stick painter's tape. I got that where I want it, got that where I want it. Set that on there, and this will come off again real easy when we need to. Now the cool part about doing this is taking the Starbond clear, which is basically glorified super glue. I'm going to put a bunch of that on there, like that, on both these sides of the tape. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the accelerator here. I'm going to shoot that onto the tape on the back side of my template. Real simple like that. Set this on there, push it into place, and now that Starbond on that tape is going to bind my template onto my wood pieces that I'm using. And there it stays on there nice and solid, real nice and solid. That stuff works really fantastic. Now, I like to take, once I've got the template attached to my piece, I like to trace it out with a wide-bodied marker, like a Sharpie. And when we get over to the bandsaw here in a second, you'll see why that's a good thing to do. So there I've got my outline for my leg and my apron. I'm going to take this over to the bandsaw next, and I'm going to cut all of this out, and then we'll take it over to the router table and show you how to take that final edge, make it real nice and clean. Here we go over to the bandsaw. A little different perspective here for you today. This is how I see it when I look at it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my bandsaw right down those two lines that I made with that black marker, making it a point not to cut into our template. All we want to do at this point is get it close, get the bulk of it off. We'll take it over to the router table in a little bit to get it refined and down to perfection. Here we go. And there we go, cutting right down our line. Why I like that wide Sharpie on there. If I cut right on the black line, I know I'm not cutting into my piece. Let's take the other side off of here. Again, I don't want to run into that template. What I want to do is take part of that line off. Just knock that corner down a little bit. There we go. Come around that corner like that. Again, I'm not looking to impact that template at all. I want to keep that intact. Right there we go. Now let's take this over to the router table I'll show you how to set that up with a patterning bit and follow that template. We'll have a perfect cut on our mid-century modern table leg. We finished taking the bulk of the material off on our bandsaw. Now I've stepped over here to my router table and I've got that set up with a patterning bit, which is just straight sides here with a bearing on the top. And that bearing is going to ride right up next to our template here, and it's going to take the rest of that material off on the bulk side. Obviously, I'm going to run that through using my push pads just to keep my fingers as far away from the things as possible. And I'm going to lower my guard down a little bit too, just in case something slips. I don't want my fingers going anywhere near that bit. And this will start out here. We'll mark our way all the way around and it'll clean this up. The advantage of doing that is every single one that I do is going to follow this template. It's going to be perfectly the same shape on every single one of them. Works pretty good. Let's turn this up. And obviously, hearing protection would be a great idea. So it doesn't do me a look of good to tell you that you should do it. And if I don't do it myself, so ears protected. And there we have our object piece cut perfectly by that patterning bit, so it matches our template perfectly. And even if I've got to do 4 of these for each table, they're all going to be exactly the same. They're all going to be perfect. So let's show you how we get this template back off of there. You'll recall from the beginning of this video that we did the Starbond on the tape. Now when we go to peel this off, the tape simply comes apart. Does a fine job of holding our material in place while we need it held. When we're all done, our tape comes off and our object piece is cut perfectly every single time. All you got to do is make that pattern one time, and by doing it this way, it ends up being consistent every turn of the trick. Now what I want to do is I'm going to show you a couple helpful hints on how to sand this inside corner, these inside corners here. And we've got a couple ways to do that. So we're going to put this over here in a leg vise, tighten that up nice and sweet. Now, the tricky part about having an organic shape like that is sanding down into that curve. So what I like to do is just take a good old everyday piece of sandpaper, wrap it around something that's a cylinder. I happen to like this copper tube. If you got a can of stain, that'll work. If you got to resort to spray paint, having that in your shop, that'll go around it too. But the whole objective here is just to be able to roll that through there and sand that curve real nice. Let's crank that up a little bit. Get down in there and sand that and just rotate it down through there. Sand that inside curve. It's the easiest way there is to do that. If you like doing it the manual way, works out really, really good. And I don't care whether you got a can of stain or a spray paint, it's going to get the exactly the same thing. What I want that's important is something that has a radius on it that I can roll through there and sand that down nice and smooth and get that cleaned up real, real well. If I don't want to do it the old-fashioned hand way, there's another way to do this too that I really like. I have one of these pneumatic sanding cylinders here that I can put into my drill press. Let's get this out of the way because we're not going to need that. And all this is a sanding sleeve over a pneumatic cylinder so I can add air to it to make it a little stiffer. I can let the air out of it to make it a little softer. But what it's going to do is it's going to go in there and it's going to help me sand that nice and easy. And it'll take it up pretty quick. Here we go. I'm just going to roll that down there. Roll that through and sand that real nice. Anytime you got a round inside curve like that, it really works well. I'm going to sand that down nice and easy. I can go down this straight edge here if I want to as well. It doesn't matter which way you go, coming or going, it's going to sand it in there. Right around there and get that nice and smooth. Yeah, these are real slick. Get them at Rockler, I think is where I got that one. And you can get different sizes, but they really work good. It's a nice soft cylinder. Hold your sandpaper in place. Gives you perfect opportunity to sand this. Now, if this were the 4 legs of my table, they're all going to be exactly the same because I used this template that I only had to perfect one time. Easiest way to make an organic shape, make it consistent, make it uniform, make it beautiful.